After 8 years of marriage, my wife walked out without a warning, cold, calculated, and already packed. 3 days later, she was at my door, sobbing and begging to come home. But by then, everything had changed. Hey viewers, welcome to the channel. We are just starting, and your support means a lot. If you enjoy these stories, please consider subscribing and help us reach our first 1,000 subscribers. My name is David. I'm 34 years old, and until 3 months ago, I thought I had the perfect marriage. My wife Rebecca is 32, and we met in college when I was 21 and she was 19. We dated for 5 years before getting married, and for the first few years of our marriage, everything seemed ideal. We had a nice house in the suburbs, 2 cars, good jobs, and we were talking about starting a family. Rebecca worked as a marketing manager at a tech company, and I was a project manager at a construction firm. We made good money together, had joint bank accounts, shared credit cards, and had built what I thought was a solid life together. Looking back now, I can see the signs that something was wrong, but at the time I was completely blindsided by what happened. Rebecca had been acting strange for about 2 months before she left. She was working late more often, spending more time on her phone, and she seemed distant during conversations. When I asked her about it, she always had an excuse. Work was stressful, she was tired, she had a headache. I believed her because I loved her and because I trusted her completely. The night it all fell apart started like any other Tuesday. I came home from work around 6:30, expecting to find Rebecca in the kitchen or watching TV in the living room. Instead, I found her in our bedroom with 2 large suitcases open on our bed, methodically packing her clothes. Not just a few items for a business trip or a weekend with friends, but everything. Her dresser drawers were pulled open and half empty. Her side of the closet was being systematically cleared out, and there were boxes on the floor filled with her personal items. I stood in the doorway for a moment, trying to process what I was seeing. My first thought was that maybe she was doing some kind of spring cleaning, donating clothes she didn't wear anymore. But then I saw her passport in one of the boxes, along with important documents and jewelry that she never traveled with. "Becca, what's going on?" I asked, using the nickname I'd called her since college. "Are you going somewhere?" She didn't even look up from the suitcase she was packing. "I'm moving out tonight, don't try to stop me." The words hit me like a physical blow. I actually took a step backward as if she had pushed me. "Moving out? What are you talking about? Moving out where?" That's when she finally looked at me, and I saw something in her eyes that I had never seen before. It wasn't anger or sadness or even regret. It was cold determination, like she had made a decision and nothing I could say or do would change her mind. "I'm leaving you, David. This marriage is over. I've already called my lawyer and I'll be in touch through him about the divorce proceedings." I felt like the floor had dropped out from under me. We hadn't been fighting. We hadn't even had a serious argument in months. Yes, things had been a little strained lately, but I thought that was just normal marriage stuff, the kind of rough patch that every couple goes through. "I don't understand," I said, and I could hear the desperation in my own voice. "What happened? What did I do wrong? Can we talk about this?" Rebecca zipped up one suitcase and started on the second one. "There's nothing to talk about. I've made up my mind. I should have done this months ago." "Months ago? You've been planning this for months," she shrugged, like she was discussing the weather. "I've been unhappy for a long time, David. I just finally got the courage to do something about it." I tried to approach her, to put my hand on her arm, to make some kind of physical connection that might break through whatever wall she had built up. But she stepped away from me like I was a stranger who had invaded her personal space. "Don't touch me," she said sharply. "I'm serious about this. I'm leaving tonight and I don't want any drama or begging or emotional scenes." Emotional scenes? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Rebecca, you're my wife. We've been together for 13 years. You can't just pack up and leave without even trying to work things out." She stopped packing and looked at me with what I can only describe as contempt. "Watch me." For the next hour, I followed her around the house like a lost puppy, trying to understand what was happening. She packed her car with boxes and suitcases, moving with the efficiency of someone who had planned this whole thing down to the last detail. She knew exactly what she wanted to take and what she was leaving behind. I kept asking questions. Where was she going? Was there someone else? Had I done something specific to hurt her? Could we try marriage counseling? Every question was met with either silence or a short, dismissive answer that told me nothing. Finally, as she was loading the last box into her car, I asked the question that had been eating at me since I found her packing. "Is there another man?" She slammed the trunk shut and turned to face me. "That's none of your business anymore." The way she said it told me everything I needed to know. There was someone else. My wife of 8 years, the woman I had loved since I was 21 years old, was leaving me for another man. "Who is he?" I asked, though I wasn't sure I really wanted to know. "It doesn't matter who he is. What matters is that I'm happy with him in a way I never was with you." Those words cut deeper than anything else she could have said. Not only was she leaving me, but she was telling me that our entire relationship had been a lie, that she had never been truly happy with me. Rebecca got in her car and rolled down the window. "I'll be by tomorrow to get the rest of my things. Don't be here when I come. I'm calling a locksmith tonight to change the locks so your key won't work anyway." "You can't change the locks," I said. "This is my house too. My name is on the mortgage." "Sue me," she said, and drove away. I stood in my driveway, watching the taillights of her car disappear down the street, and I felt completely numb. It was like my brain couldn't process what had just happened. An hour ago, I had been a married man coming home to his wife. Now I was standing alone in front of a house that apparently wasn't mine anymore, trying to figure out how my entire life had just imploded. I went back inside and called my brother Tom. Tom is 37, 3 years older than me, and he's been through a divorce himself, so I figured he might have some advice. When I told him what had happened, there was a long silence on the other end of the phone. "She changed the locks," he finally said. "She said she was going to. And she called a lawyer before she even told you she was leaving. Apparently." Tom was quiet for another moment, then said, "Dave, I hate to say this, but it sounds like she's been planning this for a while. People don't just wake up one day and have a locksmith on speed dial." That night, I didn't sleep at all. I kept expecting to hear her key in the lock, to have her come back and tell me it had all been some kind of mistake or temporary breakdown. I replayed our last few months together, looking for clues I had missed, trying to understand how I could have been so completely blindsided. The next morning, I tried to leave for work, but my key didn't work in the front door. She had actually done it. She had changed the locks on our house overnight. I had to climb through a window in the backyard just to get inside and get ready for work. At work, I was useless. I couldn't concentrate on anything. My boss, a good guy named Rick, who's in his 50s and has been married for 25 years, noticed that something was wrong and asked me about it. When I told him what had happened, he just shook his head. "That's cold, Dave, really cold. Changing the locks before you even file for divorce. That's next level vindictive." I called Rebecca's phone multiple times that day, but it went straight to voicemail. I left messages asking her to call me back, asking if we could meet somewhere and talk, asking her to at least explain why she was doing this. She never responded. That evening, I came home to find that she had been back to the house. More of her things were gone, including furniture that we had bought together. The living room looked like it had been ransacked. She had taken the good TV, the coffee table we had picked out together, and even some of the artwork off the walls. It was like she was trying to erase any trace of our life together. The second day was worse than the first. I started getting calls from credit card companies, asking about unusual account activity. It turned out that Rebecca had called them and removed me as an authorized user from cards that were in both of our names. She had also transferred money out of our joint savings account, leaving just enough to keep it open but taking everything else. I called my own lawyer, a guy named Jim who had handled the closing when we bought our house. He told me that what Rebecca was doing was legally questionable but not uncommon in contentious divorces. "The problem is," Jim explained, "she's acting like someone who expects this to get ugly. People don't change locks and freeze assets unless they think their spouse is going to fight them on everything." "But I'm not fighting her on anything," I said. "I just want to understand what happened." From her perspective, you wanting to talk probably feels like fighting. She's made her decision, and she doesn't want to be talked out of it. That night, I called Rebecca's sister, Michelle. Michelle is 29, and she had always been friendly to me during family gatherings. I thought maybe she would have some insight into what was going on with Rebecca. Michelle was uncomfortable talking to me, but she did let slip that Rebecca had been staying with her for the past 2 nights. She also mentioned that Rebecca seemed really happy and was talking about starting a new chapter in her life. "Is there someone else?" I asked Michelle directly. There was a long pause. "David, I think you should talk to Rebecca about that. She won't talk to me about anything." "I'm sorry," Michelle said. "I really am, but this is between you and my sister." By the third day, I was starting to get angry. The shock and numbness were wearing off, and I was beginning to realize just how calculated and cruel Rebecca's actions had been. She hadn't just left me, she had systematically dismantled our life together while pretending everything was fine. She had been planning this for weeks, maybe months, while I was completely in the dark. I started thinking about our relationship differently. I remembered times when she had seemed distant or distracted, times when she had gone out with friends and come home late, times when she had been secretive about her phone or her computer. Things that I had dismissed at the time suddenly seemed significant. I also started thinking about myself differently. For 2 days, I had been consumed with questions about what I had done wrong, how I had failed as a husband, why I hadn't been enough for her. But on the third day, I realized that I hadn't done anything wrong. I had been a good husband. I had worked hard, contributed to our household, treated her with love and respect, and tried to build a future with her. If she was unhappy, she should have talked to me about it. If there were problems in our marriage, we should have worked on them together. Instead, she had chosen to lie to me for months while she planned her escape. That evening, I was sitting on my couch, eating takeout Chinese food and trying to figure out what to do next, when my phone rang. It was Rebecca. For a moment, I just stared at the phone. Part of me wanted to let it go to voicemail to not give her the satisfaction of answering, but I was curious about what she wanted after 3 days of silence. "Hello," I said, keeping my voice neutral. "David." Her voice sounded different, smaller, less confident than it had been 3 nights ago when she was packing her bags. "Yeah, it's me. Can we talk?" I almost laughed. "Now you want to talk after changing the locks and freezing our accounts and disappearing for 3 days. I know you're angry and you have every right to be, but I need to see you. Can I come over?" "You can't come over. You changed the locks, remember? This isn't your house anymore." There was silence on the other end of the line, then I heard something that shocked me. Rebecca was crying, not just sniffling, but really crying, the kind of deep, ugly sobbing that you can't fake. "David, please, I made a mistake, a huge mistake. I need to come home." "You made a mistake." "Yes, God, yes, the biggest mistake of my life. I don't know what I was thinking." I was confused and scared, and I thought I wanted something different, but I was wrong. I was so wrong. I sat there listening to her cry, and I felt nothing. 3 days ago, if she had called me crying, I would have done anything to comfort her. I would have driven to wherever she was and held her until she felt better. But now, after everything she had put me through, her tears felt manipulative. "What about the other guy?" I asked, more sobbing. "It's over. It was never really anything serious anyway. I don't know why I thought it was. I was just so confused, and I thought the grass was greener somewhere else, but it's not. It's not, David. You're my husband. You're the one I want to be with. So you left me for someone else, and now that it didn't work out, you want to come back." "It wasn't like that. I mean, it was, but not the way you're making it sound. I was having doubts about us, about our marriage, and then I met someone who made me feel different, and I thought maybe that meant I should leave. But I realized that what I was feeling wasn't real. It was just infatuation, and now it's gone, and I miss you so much." I could hear the desperation in her voice, and part of me felt sorry for her. She sounded genuinely distraught, genuinely sorry for what she had done. But I also remembered how cold and calculating she had been just 3 nights ago, how she had told me that our entire marriage had been a lie, how she had systematically destroyed our life together while I stood there begging her to reconsider. "Where are you?" I asked. "I'm at Michelle's, but I don't want to be here. I want to come home. I want to sleep in our bed and wake up next to you and pretend the last 3 days never happened." "The last 3 days did happen, Rebecca. You can't just pretend they didn't." I know, but we can get past this, can't we? People make mistakes in marriages all the time." "This was just a really big mistake, but it's over now. I choose you, David. I choose our marriage." I was quiet for a long time, thinking about what she was saying. Part of me wanted to believe her, wanted to take her back and try to rebuild what we had lost. But I kept thinking about how she had looked at me when she was packing her bags, the contempt in her voice when she told me I had never made her happy, the way she had driven away without looking back. "You called a lawyer," I said finally. "I can call him back. I can tell him I changed my mind. You changed the locks. I'll change them back. I'll give you new keys. You took money out of our accounts. I'll put it back, all of it." She had an answer for everything, a solution to every problem she had created. But she was missing the point. The issue wasn't the practical things she had done, it was the fact that she had done them at all. The issue was that she had been capable of looking me in the eye and telling me our marriage was over while secretly planning to leave me for another man. "Do you love him?" I asked. "No, I thought I did, but I don't. I love you. Did you sleep with him?" There was a long pause. "David, did you sleep with him while you were still married to me?" "Yes, but it didn't mean anything. It was just physical. You're the one I have an emotional connection with." I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. She had cheated on me. Not only had she left me for another man, but she had been sleeping with him while we were still living together, while I was completely unaware that anything was wrong. "Please don't hang up," she said, as if she could sense what I was thinking. "I know how this sounds, but you have to believe me when I tell you that it's over with him. It was never really anything to begin with." I was just confused and looking for something that I thought was missing from our marriage, but I realize now that what was missing wasn't in our marriage. It was in me. I was the problem, not you, not us. "So what changed?" I asked. 3 days ago you told me you had never been happy with me. Now you're saying I'm the love of your life. What happened in 3 days to make you realize that? I spent time with him. Real time, not just sneaking around, and I realized that what I thought I wanted wasn't what I actually wanted. He's not you, David. He doesn't know me the way you do. He doesn't care about me the way you do. I tried to build something with him, but it felt hollow and fake compared to what we have. "What we had," I corrected her. "What we have," she insisted. "It's still there, David. I can feel it." "Can't you feel it too?" I could feel something, but it wasn't love or longing or hope for reconciliation. It was disappointment. Disappointment in her for what she had done, and disappointment in myself for ever trusting someone who could be so deceptive. "I need time to think," I said. "How much time?" "I don't know." "Can I see you tomorrow? Can we meet somewhere and talk face to face?" "I don't think that's a good idea." "Please, David, I know I don't deserve it, but please give me a chance to make this right. I'll do whatever it takes, counseling, therapy, whatever you want. I'll be completely transparent about everything. I'll give you my phone, my computer, my passwords, whatever you need to trust me again." Trust. That was the word that stopped me cold. She was talking about earning back my trust, but I realized that I didn't want to have to monitor my wife's phone and computer. I didn't want to be the kind of husband who checked up on his wife's every move because he couldn't trust her not to cheat on him again. That wasn't a marriage, that was a prison sentence for both of us. "I'm going to hang up now," I said. "Wait, please don't. Just tell me there's a chance. Tell me you'll think about it." I thought about the woman I had fallen in love with in college, the woman I had married 8 years ago, the woman I had thought I would grow old with. Then I thought about the woman who had packed her bags without warning, told me I had never made her happy, and driven away to be with another man. Were they the same person? Had I ever really known Rebecca at all? "I'll think about it," I said, because it was easier than explaining that I had already made up my mind. "Thank you," she said, and I could hear the relief in her voice. "I love you, David. I know I have a funny way of showing it, but I do love you." After I hung up, I sat in my living room for a long time, thinking about everything that had happened. I thought about our wedding day, when Rebecca had promised to love and honor me for better or worse, in sickness and in health, until death do us part. I thought about all the times she had told me she loved me, all the plans we had made together, all the dreams we had shared. But I also thought about the last 3 days. I thought about how it felt to come home and find her packing without warning. I thought about how it felt to have her look at me with contempt and tell me our marriage was a lie. I thought about how it felt to discover that she had been cheating on me while pretending everything was fine. Most of all, I thought about what kind of person could do all of that to someone they claimed to love. What kind of person could be so cruel and calculating and then turn around 3 days later and expect to be forgiven? The next morning, Rebecca called again, and the morning after that, and every morning for the next week. Each time she begged me to take her back, promised to make things right, swore that she had learned her lesson and would never hurt me again. But I had learned something too. I had learned that I was stronger than I thought I was. I had survived the worst thing I could imagine happening to my marriage, and I was still standing. I had learned that I deserved better than someone who could throw away 13 years without a second thought, then expect to come back when things didn't work out with someone else. 3 weeks after that first phone call, Rebecca showed up at my office. She looked terrible, like she hadn't been sleeping or eating much. She begged me to give her another chance, said she would do anything to save our marriage. I looked at this woman who had been my wife for 8 years, and I felt nothing but pity for her. Not the kind of pity that leads to forgiveness, but the kind of pity you feel for someone who has made such a mess of their life that they can't see any way out. "I'm sorry, Rebecca," I said, "but it's too late." "It's not too late," she insisted. "It's never too late if we both want to make it work." "But I don't want to make it work," I said, and as I said it, I realized it was true. I don't want to be married to someone I can't trust. I don't want to spend the rest of my life wondering if you're going to leave me again the next time you get bored or confused or meet someone who makes you feel different. She started crying again, but this time her tears didn't affect me at all. "You're making a mistake," she said. "We're good together. We can be good together again." "Maybe we were good together once," I said. "But that was before I knew what you were capable of." 6 months later, our divorce was finalized. Rebecca tried to take me for everything she could, but my lawyer was better than hers, and the fact that she had left me for another man didn't help her case. She got some money and some furniture, but I kept the house and most of our savings. I heard through mutual friends that things didn't work out with the other guy after all. Apparently, he wasn't interested in a serious relationship, just a fling with a married woman. Rebecca ended up moving back in with her parents at 32 years old, starting over from scratch. As for me, I'm doing better than I ever expected. I've been dating someone new for the past few months, a woman named Sarah who's kind and honest and would never dream of walking out on someone without warning. We take things slow, and I'm learning to trust again, but I'm also more careful now about who I give my heart to. Looking back, I realized that Rebecca calling me that night and begging to come back was the best thing that could have happened to me. Not because I took her back, but because I didn't. Her desperation showed me that I had been right to question her motives all along. If she had really loved me, she never would have left in the first place. If she had really been sorry, she would have fought for our marriage before walking away, not after her backup plan fell through. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I had taken her back. Would she have stayed faithful this time, or would she have left again the next time someone made her feel special? I'll never know, and I'm glad I'll never have to find out. When people ask me about the worst period of my life, I tell them it wasn't the 3 days after Rebecca left. It was the 8 years I spent married to someone who was capable of leaving. I just didn't know it at the time.